Hello everyone, and welcome back to Crypto Bytes, where we discuss all things crypto, DeFi, airdrops, and more. My name is Brian, and today is part 2 of the $10,000 to $50,000 challenge that we started in the last video, where we're trying to run up $10,000 as of June 2025 to $50,000 or more by the end of the year, by 2026. And so the way that we're going to do that is both by farming a bunch of different airdrops, but also putting our money into high yielding plays across DeFi. And we haven't talked about those opportunities yet. We'll probably get to that either later in this video or the next one. But yeah, in the last one, we went through a number of plays that I have on the Sui ecosystem, a couple on Solana, and then a bunch of different kind of smaller like stablecoin plays as well. Those all are about maybe like 0.5%, 1% of my total like allocated portfolio as far as what this challenge is going to. So just kind of the smaller stuff. Today we're going to hit one of my biggest focuses for the last few months, and probably for the next few months at the very least, and that's focusing on the Hyperliquid, HyperEVM ecosystem in hopes that they have a season 2 drop. But in the meantime, there's a bunch of different protocols on the HyperEVM that are running their own airdrops, which could be quite lucrative in my opinion. And they also have a good amount of high APY plays as well that we'll hit in a moment. So yeah, lots to cover today. So we'll probably just stick to HyperEVM, and then we'll go into more stuff in part 3 of this series. So without further ado, let's jump in and get going. Okay, so the first two protocols that we'll be talking about are kind of the native stable coins on HyperEVM. The first one is Felix. So they actually have two stable coins. They have a FEUSD, and then they also have a USDHL. And so with Felix, there's a couple different ways that you can earn points as far as like going towards their airdrop. The first one is basically depositing either Hype or uBTC, and then you can borrow FEUSD and use it in however way you want. That's this first option here. You can see that the interest to borrow against these is not low but not high either, so not bad. The only thing I don't like about this is the LTV is kind of low compared to most lending and borrowing protocols, so I haven't really been using this part of Felix. What I have been using so far is depositing into their stability pools. So, I've deposited a little bit of Hype into here, which is earning 13% APY, and I'm not borrowing anything from it. I'm just depositing and earning the APY. So, not bad to earn just by holding Hype basically, and I'm farming points at the same time. So that's one thing I'm doing. The other things that you can do is they have additional kind of lending and borrowing opportunities here where as opposed to like a lot of different lending and borrowing places where you can kind of pick and choose the assets that you want to borrow and deposit. These ones have correlated pairs, so they're kind of like isolated pools. You can see that the LTVs are also kind of low here, so yeah, I'm not really taking advantage of any of this, but if you were interested in instead of borrowing the FEUSD like I showed you a moment ago, you could borrow USDE or USDT, USDHL, etc. Now the other opportunity, which is the other one that I am more focused on, not really much to see here, but is the USDHL. So what I'm doing with that is on Kitten Swap and Hyperswap, which are the two largest dexes on HyperEVM, I'm depositing into different liquidity pools with USDHL, and by doing that I'm earning points basically, and the APYs on those pools are quite nice, which we'll hit in a moment. So that's pretty much Felix. Those are the things that you can do here thus far. One of the more higher esteemed protocols on HyperEVM, I don't use them too much because I'm more focused on getting high yields. And that's why most of my money's in the dexes. But this is definitely something, especially if you're looking for something more simple, where you can just like deposit Hype, deposit BTC, borrow some stables, and do it that way. So that's what Felix offers. The other play that you can take advantage of as far as like a native stablecoin is this Kiko Finance. So they have been around just as long, if not, maybe even longer than Felix, but for whatever reason haven't been, as widely spoken about as far as I can tell. But they do have a decent amount of total value locked, and pretty much what you can do here is very similar to Felix. You can deposit different assets here into a vault or a stability pool, and by doing that you'll get, not the best 4%, but you're depositing either Key, which is their stablecoin, or in the vaults you're able to deposit HyperBTC, ETH, or Per here, which is meme coin on HyperEVM. The thing that I've been doing mostly with Kiko Finance is, well, actually here, another thing that you could do is actually deposit into these different pools that they offer here, or they have, well, actually this is what this is. So yeah, there's different pools on Kitten Swap, Hyperswap that you can deposit into that use Key as one of the assets in the pairing for the liquidity pool. And by doing that, you're earning these APYs and also earning key points, Kiko points. There's other pools that aren't listed here that have much higher APYs, which are the ones I've focused on in the past. But yeah, that's pretty much Kiko Finance. And yeah, those are the two stable coins on HyperEVM, the native ones. There are other ones as well, but these are the two native protocols. Next up is Perflow. So Perflow is an interesting concept, and basically what you can do here is you're depositing into here and you're getting like a delta neutral strategy that they're doing for you. So currently they support ETH, Fartcoin, and Hype. I've only been using the Hype one since the APYs are the highest, and you also get more. They're integrated with a bunch of different protocols, so you can earn not only potentially points for Perflow, which they don't have a points program, but they don't have a token either. But you can get points for Loop Type, Hyperlend, Hyperfi, and Hyperswap, all by using this. And you can also earn this about 20% APY as well at the same time. And so by depositing into here, you're basically opening up a short. Here, let me show you. You're opening up a short position on Hype, on Hyperliquid itself, so you need to have funds in your Hyperliquid account in order for this to work. And then on the HyperEVM, it's then taking a portion of those funds and longing, well, just basically buying spot L Hype. So you're getting the Loop Hype, which you can earn a few percentage APY on just for holding, since it's a liquid staking token on Hype. So you're holding that, and then you're shorting Hype on Hyperliquid, and then you're earning basically the funding fee that you're getting from shorting it. So let's see if I should give you an example here. So if I was to put in 100, it's showing here that they would basically open a $25 short position on Hyperliquid and then buy about $75 in spot Loop Type, and that's how it would work. And then you can see here what your liquidation price is. So if Hype ends up getting to this, you'll get liquidated. So you do want to monitor this to make sure you're adding more funds or withdrawing the position if it gets too close to that. But yeah, so pretty simple overall. I was using this more previously, but because Hype has been kind of on a tear, I don't like the short term, just because you automatically, like, if the price of Hype goes from 40 to 45, you're already 10% down. Now while you're obviously up on your spot position, you're then having to go and make sure that you have enough funds in Hyperliquid. It's just a little bit to manage a little bit more. You have to keep your eye on a couple more things than you normally do, especially for me, since I'm also trading on Hyperliquid. So I needed to make sure that I have enough funds on there as I'm moving things in and out. So if you are trading on Hyperliquid and want to do this, probably the best bet is for you to have a separate account just for this, so that way it doesn't get intermingled with your other trades. That's my recommendation. So that's Perflow. Next is Liminal, which very similar concept, and this one's a little bit more talked about from what I can tell than Perflow, where yeah, you basically deposit in here, and yeah, so you deposit basically USDC in here, and then what it does is it's opening up delta neutral strategies on your behalf, and then you're basically earning this 18%, which is depending on the funding rate of shorting hype, or in this case they use different assets. So you can do the standard where you don't even like worry about what assets they use, or if you do the pro, then you can have more control over it, where you can customize your strategy because they go between Hype, Sol, BTC, ETH, Fartcoin, and USDE. So if you like for whatever reason didn't want any exposure to Sol, then you can come over to the pro section here and customize your strategy so that you're not using that, or maybe you only want to use Sol as an example. So you have that flexibility here, and then you can see like as you're changing it what the APY would be with that strategy. But for me, for a little bit I've just chosen the standard one because it's kind of set and forget, don't worry about it. Only issue with Liminal is that they are currently at a $20 million TVL cap, so you can't actually deposit in there right now. I had taken some out and I didn't realize I missed the cap, so right now I have nothing in here and you're not able to get anything in there either, but I'm sure they will open up the cap again soon. So yeah, just keep an eye out on that. So that is Liminal. Next few are kind of just like simple vaults where you deposit funds into, and you'll earn an APY for it. So this is Mizu, and they basically have 3 vaults. They have a Hyper ETH vault, so that's Ethereum, which I don't focus on. They have a Hyper BTC vault, and then they have a Hyper USD vault. So for me, even though this is kind of like, they're talking about that they're using Hyperliquid DeFi, you're depositing on the Ethereum mainnet for this, which is a little weird, but I'm doing it anyways just because anything that has kind of relation to Hyperliquid, I'm depositing it a little bit on each of these protocols just so I have a handprint, a footprint on them. So you can see here, the nice thing is that if you deposit, you're getting points for Mizu, Hyperbeat, which we'll talk about in a second, Hyperlend, a bunch of different protocols. So I believe I'm only in this USD vault. They're not giving any APY at the moment just for depositing, but you are earning points on all these different protocols by doing so. So it's a nice way to kind of get a blanket wide covering of a bunch of different apps on HyperEVM, just from one deposit. So I just have a little bit here, not too much. You can see that with some of these other ones you can get even more exposure, but for now I just have the Hyper USD vault that I'm using with Mizu. Next up is Hyperdrive. So again, very similar. It's another vault type platform. Pretty much I think it's just all no, so there's mostly stable coins. So you got the USD pool, you got the USDTO pool, another USD pool. So there's a number of different strategies here. Liquid staking, Hyperliquid. You can see that the APYs are nothing really to write home about. 8%, 2%, 10%. I mean, for stablecoin, that's not bad. So I believe I'm in the USDE vaults, which is paying 8%. So by doing that, I'm getting the upfront 8%, and then I'm also earning points, which you can see are coming soon here for Hyperdrive. So again, nothing crazy about this one, but I'm trying to deposit a little bit into every single HyperEVM app that looks, somewhat interesting, just because all of them are running their own airdrops, and then also you never know if Hyperliquid does their season 2 airdrop, they might reward you for, based on the number of apps that you're engaging with. So that's why I'm kind of spraying wide with some of these. So this is one, Hyperdrive. Next one is Hyperbeat. So they have, again, a bunch of different vaults here. USD, ETH, BTC, Hyperliquid vaults. So You can see also, APYs are okay. You can earn rewards from a bunch of different protocols while using this at the same time. So for me personally, I am in this Hyperbeat Ultra Hype. So I'm depositing Hype. I'm earning 6% on that, and then I'm getting 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 earning points on 7 different protocols at the same time while doing that. So, not bad for basically just holding Hype. And you can do that with USDT or BTC as well if you desire. So that is another vault, Hyperbeat. Valantis is again another vault. So you basically deposit S stake type, and you're earning 1.4% APY. So nothing great. You're earning Valantis points, assuming that they're going to have an airdrop. They don't have points per se yet, but they don't have a token either. And then you're also earning 2 times Hyperfi points with your deposit. So 2-in-1 airdrop, a little bit of an APY just for holding Hype. So that's why I am involved in this one. Speaking of which, this is just stakingrewards.com. So they do liquid staking tokens across a bunch of different chains and ecosystems. You can see here, Ethereum, Bitcoin, Starknet, Atom, etc. But for the purpose of this, I'm basically just depositing Hype in here. I'm getting the ST Hype, and then I'm using that on different protocols. And by doing that, you're earning points for staking the Hype. So that's what this one is, giving us. All right, so the next few ones, we're moving away from the vaults and we're getting into the lending and borrowing protocols on HyperEVM. So the first one is Sentiment. And basically with them, it's a little bit unique. First of all, they have, the typical, you can lend either USDT or USDE or Hype, and no borrowing, you're just lending, so you earn these flat percentages for doing so. So that's one thing that you can do to earn points with Sentiment. Then, which is what I'm focused on, is they have these leverage options where basically, in this case, you would deposit stake type, and then you're borrowing wrap type, and it's basically doing the loop for you. So you can go up to 10x leverage on this one, which would get you about an 8.5% APY on your funds, and then you're earning more points because you're effectively depositing more onto the platform because you're looping your funds. So if you put in 1,000, let's call it 100. If you put in 100 and you did 9x leverage, you effectively have, I believe, like right around $1,000 deposited, and you're borrowing 900 to do that. So in that regard, you're able to earn more points with Sentiment, and it may or may not contribute to how HyperEVM figures out how they want to give an airdrop in the future as well. So they have that pool for Hype. They have this where if you just want to have a total Hype exposure without any hedge with this one, you can do Hype and borrow stable coins, and you can loop that up to 3 times. Similarly, you can do this one where it's USDE instead of USDT. So there's those options as well. And then lastly, just like a typical borrowing platform, you can deposit stake type and then in return borrow wrap type or the stable coins. And in this case, other than USDE, the borrow APY for these two are quite small. And that's pretty much what Sentiment is, and they do have a points program running already. So next is Hyperlend. So this is more of a traditional lending and borrowing protocol. You have your core market where you see the different assets that you can deposit and borrow against, and then actually they don't have an isolated market. So it's just these currently. And the problem with Hyperlend is that all of their caps are almost all reached already, except for a few of these. You can see all the red. So if you can deposit Hype, BTC, ETH, or USDE still, but then you can only borrow basically BTC or ETH against it. So unless you want to, deposit this and then go short on BTC or ETH, or if you want to deposit ETH and then kind of loop it by borrowing it, there's not much that you can do at the moment until they really increase the supply cap. So for me, I currently just I have Hype deposited and I've borrowed stake type or maybe vice versa, something like that. But I wasn't able to get like the full allocation that I wanted because the caps all got hit before I had a chance to do that. But yeah, that's basically Hyperlend. I'm sure that they'll open up the caps again soon. So in the meantime, though, you could deposit one of these assets if you want, and just so you can start getting a footprint. And then they do have a points program already too. Next, Hyperfi. So again, another kind of standard lending and borrowing protocol. So you can deposit any of these different assets. Basically the same as what we just saw with Hyperlend, but you have a little bit more different stable coins, I guess, that you could engage with if you're interested. They do have isolated markets in addition to the pooled markets, which gives you a little bit more of an option for different things if you're interested. A couple of meme coins too. And then they also have some vaults that you can deposit into. So if you want to deposit this stable coin here, you can earn 12% on it and you'll get a 10x Hyperfi boost. And then they also have a points program too. So another interesting lending and borrowing protocol on Hyperliquid, HyperEVM. And then last but not least, as far as the lending and borrowing protocols go, is Hyperyield. So kind of bare bones, and they're smaller. They only have almost 2 million in total deposits, so not a lot, but you can deposit either Hype or loop type, and then you can borrow against it. And then additionally, if you wanted, there we go. Additionally, if you wanted, you could just supply these different assets, and here's the supply APY as well, and they do have a points program. So pretty much what I'm doing with these different lending and borrowing protocols is I'm just depositing Hype and then borrowing Hype and then looping it through to kind of maximize the amount that I have. And I'm only putting a couple $100 on each of these since they're not my highest targets because I'm not earning that much yield. I'm just really farming the airdrop on those and just trying to expand my footprint on HyperEVM. But if these are something that's more interesting to you, then obviously you can put more if you'd like. But that has pretty much been my strategy. Next up is Kitten Swap. So Kitten Swap actually just today announced that they ended the points program they ended their points program. There's no news if there's going to be a season 2 or not, but pretty much they're gearing up for TGE now. They are I don't know if they're larger, but it's either them or Hyperswap that are the two main dexes on HyperEVM. So they have a ton of different pools that you can deposit into. Personally, I've been using kind of Hype with a different stablecoin pool because you can see that the APYs, these typically are like no less than 150% APYs. So I've been making very good fees on these deposits. And you can see based on different pools, like here, like I mentioned earlier with Felix, like if you deposit here, you can earn points both for Felix, but also for Kitten Swap, or at least you could until they ended their points program. So for me, I'm probably going to pull a little bit of my capital out of here and put it into Hyperswap since they haven't ended their points program yet. But I'll still keep some in Kitten Swap because they actually have typically a little bit better, higher APYs than Hyperswap. And you never know if they're gonna, have a season 2 perhaps after their TG. But yeah, pretty much it's just, LPing on this one. Hyperswap. And by the way, while that's loading, the way that I LP, which I'll probably go, I've maybe talked about it before, but I'll definitely go into more detail on it in another video. Is usually I'll look at what the weekly range is for the pair that I want to deposit into. So, I'll look on, in this example for Hype, what was the high and the low for the last 7 days, and I'll set my range that way. So typically by doing that, it'll at least stay in range for a few days, if not longer. And I just check on it once a day and make sure that it stays in range. And yeah, pretty much good to go. And the fees that you're generating typically more than overcompensate for any impermanent loss that you're getting. So I really like depositing into these different dexes because the APYs are so nice. Also, Hype obviously has been improving in price a lot recently, and then you're also qualifying for different airdrops at the same time. So really good opportunities in my opinion. So Kitten Swap, I probably had, if out of this whole entire HyperEVM list of things, protocols, I have about 20% of my overall portfolio into these different ones. I probably had 4% in Kitten Swap, and I have about 5% in Hyperswap, which is now going to be a little bit more because Kitten Swap just ended their points program. So by far, I'm heavily weighting on these dexes because you're earning a lot of upfront fees, which might end up being more than what the airdrops themselves are. So for me, if you can get a lot of very good upfront yield, then that is typically going to be better than what the airdrop actually is. But if you can get both at the same time, like in this case you are, then even better, right? So yeah, with Hyperswap, basically the exact same thing as Kitten Swap. They have a bunch of different pools. Like I mentioned, their APYs are a little bit lower depending on the pool, but still some pretty decent ones that are typically in the mid 100 to maybe low 200% for like the Hype and stable type of pool. And then just like on Kitten Swap, you can accumulate points on both Hyperswap and also on the other protocols on HyperEVM too. One thing I didn't mention before, which is something to keep in mind, is on both Kitten Swap, Hyperswap, and some of the lending and borrowing protocols that we went through, they have these uBTC assets. So this, by depositing uBTC, uETH, and I believe uFartcoin too, Unit is the application, and so they likely are going to be running airdrop. They don't have a points program right now, but they don't have a token either. And so one way that you can potentially qualify for that airdrop is by depositing with these U assets into different pools. So even though they don't always have the highest APYs, I usually always try to put a little bit into them just so that I'm putting my footprint across all the different protocols on HyperEVM. So another thing to keep in mind there too. Another DEX that is nowhere near as large as the others is Laminar. So they have a bunch of pools as well. Yeah, I won't go into them, but the pools can sometimes be quite nice. Like right now I think I'm in the Hype USDTO pool, and it's making a couple hundred APY. Let's see, yeah, 500% right now. So I don't think it's gonna last. There's been a lot of volatility, but this still is usually somewhere in the mid 200% APY. So not bad at all. It does have low TVL, but I only have a couple hundred deposited in here, so it works for me right now. But they do have other pools that have nice APYs too. So a lot of different options on here. This is Laminar. They don't have a points program yet, but they don't have a token, so likely they will in the future. Two more dexes. Next one is GLiquid. So this one just launched maybe in the last week, so proceed with caution on this. I only have a little bit here, but they currently just have 3 pools. I'm in this Hype USDTO pool, which is currently earning 800%. And the way that they do that is it's vastly, basically at this PGLQ, which is their anticipated token. And the way that they're coming up with this APY is basically they're assuming that the fully diluted value of their token is going to be 2 million on launch. They're planning on giving 40% of it away on TGE, and so that's why they're basically saying that this 675% is going to be what the value of that PGLQ token is going to be worth based on your deposits in here. So even if it's like a third of that, I mean, you're making like 200 or 300%, and then you're also getting a decent 100% on trading fees alone from here. So for me, I have a couple $100 in here as a gamble, and I'll just keep monitoring it. But there's definitely not a lot of people using this just yet. So if you have a little bit to spare and are wanting to spread your footprint around, this one's probably a good one to try out. And lastly, another new one is Kiko Finance. So they also, I think, have only been around for a week or so be careful with this one. And yeah, they have more pools than GLiquid, but the APYs are not as good. They're not even as good as the APYs on Hyperswap or Kitten Swap, but again, because I'm trying to get points on every single protocol out there, I have a little bit deposited in here. You can see here that in addition to the APR, you get multipliers on rewards based on the pools that they're they want to incentivize the most. So this one, I believe, is the one that I'm in as well. So you're getting 70% and then 35x points. So what those points will be worth, who knows? But again, I'm just trying to spread myself across a bunch of different protocols on HyperEVM. Last but not least is Liquidswap. So Liquidswap has a bunch of different things. Well, not a bunch, but a couple. The main thing that I'm doing here is I'm using this as my main place for swapping tokens. Not only are the rates for the swaps generally better than what you'd get on Kitten Swap or Hyperswap, but you're most likely getting some kind of allocation for their airdrop in the future by doing these swaps. In addition to swapping, they do have this token already actually, which I assume that they're gonna issue more of, so you can stake it if you like, which you earn rewards from the platform as a result. And the main thing that people use this is it's basically like a pump fund type of a launch pad on HyperEVM. So yeah, you can see here you're just getting a bunch of shit coins here that have very small market caps, and you can gamble on them just like you would on pump.fun if that's what interests you. For me, I'm not touching this. I'm just using the swap functionality. And yeah, that's pretty much, as you can see here, you'll earn a share of the protocol revenue from the staking. So cool. That is pretty much everything that is on HyperEVM that I'm farming. Like I said, I'm mostly focused on the dexes as far as at least like where my TVL, where my portfolio funds are going towards. But I have a little bit scattered across all these different ones just so that I'm qualifying both for their airdrops as well as just expanding my overall footprint in hopes that the Hyperliquid Season 2 airdrop recognizes that. So hope this has been helpful. I know there's a lot of details, and I know a lot of people already are posting these HyperEVM guides out there. I've done similar ones in the past, but now that we're focused on this new 10,000 to 50,000 challenge, I wanted to show you what I'm currently doing on Hyperliquid as it changes all the time. So obviously I'm also trading on Hyperliquid here and there too, but for the most part I'm focused on the dexes here. So that's what I am going after. So thank you once again for joining me on our next part 3 of this challenge. We'll be going into more of the heavier plays that I'm focused on, and hopefully we'll end up hitting all the different protocols that we haven't hit yet. And then the next video after that, I'll be showing you like the actual allocation, and we'll start tracking, how am I doing. And if you want to follow along. If not, hope this is at least entertaining and maybe even educational. So yeah, thanks again everyone for joining me, and until next time, happy farming.